All right, super special. Today we meet again. Every Saturday we meet. It's very amazing. I want to check first. Nadia, are you there? Rida and Becca. Okay, all right. Okay, so should we start now? Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to ASEAN Young Architect Webinar Series 2021 with the theme of Future of Sustainability. So this event is supported by Arcasia Committee of Young Architects, Indonesia Institute of Architects, Yogyakarta Chapter, and Yogyakarta Young Architect Forum, and powered by Extalia Hobbies. And also, there's a bit information. First of all, thank you for registering on the webinar for Architect Nadya Arizka sessions. It's supposed to be in 24th July. However, due to an unexpected reason, the session will be moved to 31st July 2021. However, our 24th July will be replaced by a very talented young urban planner and landscape designer from China. He is Yang. To give us some insight about how to integrate sustainability in Chinese aesthetic. So it will be interesting as well. For those who has been registered for 24th July 2021 session, you will be automatically registered for Yang session. So please do register again for Architect Nadya Arizka session on 31st July 2021 by simply visiting the same link, the bit.ly/young webinar, or you can just scan the QR code there. All right, so I hope today's I also find you all healthy. We know that the situation for the COVID-19 is not that good enough for some countries, especially some countries like India, Indonesia, and Indonesia. I think most of you are coming from Indonesia. I know the situation is not that good, but I hope that everything is getting better and with all the support from the government and all the people in Indonesia and the vaccination programs and so on. So I hope everything is getting better. Yeah, so let's enjoy today. All right, so also we are extremely grateful for the participation of our incredible speakers who are joining us in this webinar series starting from 19 June until the end of July for sharing their insight here in our webinar, especially for today's speaker, very special also, Nadya Arizka from Indonesia, yeah, Nadya, yeah. All right, so I would like also thank you to our chairman of ACYA, Architect Nadya Arizka from Malaysia, and the representative today, Architect Rebecca Vannesa from Philippines. And of course, to all the webinar participants who attend here on Zoom or in the Facebook live streaming. So before we start the webinar, I would like to gently remind you that today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-webinar. And if you have any questions for the speaker, please use the chat box here. You can just simply type at any point during the sessions. However, we will hold most of the questions until the end of the session. Then I will read the question for the speaker to answer, or if you want to speak out your burning questions directly, please let me know as well on the chat box. Also, please keep yourself muted during the webinar, except when I give you the permission to speak. And for the Q&A session, of course, we are all inviting all of you to participate on the discussion. So if you feel comfortable, please turn on your camera and join the discussion. All right, so as for the opening, I would like to invite the representative of ACYA today, Architect Rebecca Vannesa Relosa from Philippines, to give a short opening speech. All right, Rebecca.
Hello, good afternoon, Desta, and good afternoon to our fellow young architects and Chairman Reader Razak. Hello, good afternoon. We would like to welcome you to the fourth installment of the ACYA Webinar Series 2021, The Future of Sustainability. And today's very interesting topic will be on UI and UX design in practice. History has proven that designers have always progressed their work to address problems of the changing world and the changing human behaviors. Architects have always strived to strike a balance between dichotomies such as the international and local, the public and the private, the green and the built up. Young architects now should look at the future of our planet situation more than ever due to the vastly declining environment. And for us to keep up with this very fast pace of degradation, we should look into technology. So, why technology? The digital age has enabled us to process, transfer, and disseminate information at lightning speeds. Combined with our tradition that both makes us meet our needs without compromising the provision for the future generations, we could possibly lessen and mitigate the damaging impacts we have created in this epoch of Anthropocene. Technology has always assisted the designer in the entire process, from conceptualization to the erection of the structures up to post occupancy. And it has improved definitely utilitas, firmitas, and venustas, or commodity, firmness, and delight. Technology has and can improve further building efficiency, durability, and comfort by simulation of accuracy. One of the new technologies we apply to the design process is UX, or user experience design, a modern discipline that aims to study and enhance the interactions between a user and a product or service. With good integration of UX research and design, we can enhance how users experience built environments. This discipline is very much in tune with the human centric discipline of architecture. I will stop my introduction here for our speaker, Ms. Nadya Arizka, will further elaborate on the topic, and I shall now turn you over back to Architect Desta. Thank you.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you so much. All right, I think we should start. Thank you for all participants, especially those are attending on Zoom. We have 80 participants today, so amazing. All right, so actually this is my fourth time moderating this series. Again, a bit about me. I'm Primavera Desta from Indonesia. I'm a registered architect focused on sustainable design. Also, I'm running an e-commerce retail business for action figures products in Indonesia. It's Extalia Hobbies. So if you are interested, please kindly visit our site at www.extaliahobbies.com. All right, this event is also initiated by young architects who's put more concern about our environment, especially for the future generation. Some of us might not yet realize that our home is now gradually being worse. So some countries experience a heat wave, extreme weather, droughts, floods, and other natural disasters, which are actually caused by the climate change. The global warming resulting the ice melting and increasing the sea level, which threatening some cities to be sunken in just several years ahead. Poverty, food scarcity, pandemic are just some of the results of what human did in past. So it is really a big crisis on our generation. So in 2050, around 60% of people will live in an urban area, means the city needs to grow more and more to facilitate all the people, not only for residential needs, but also the facilities they need, which should also be provided. Cities are getting more dense and hotter, those resulting more irreversible damage for all the earth. So that's how the urban heat islands exist. So all people and all professions are actually responsible for this. So building and constructions, of course, we know it contributes a lot, but as we are getting advanced on the technology as well, do we realize that it also contributes a lot of carbon footprints? So the questions here, have you ever wondered what the environmental cost of a post, a story, and watching a live Instagram feed? All right, this is very interesting, right? So this is some of the data from the green spectre. So if we consider that the average carbon impact of Instagram, here I got the data is 0.664 gram equivalent CO2 per minute. And that is users spend average of 28 minutes per day on the social network. So the average impact of a user on Instagram is around 18.6 gram equivalent CO2 per day. So this equivalent to 166 meters traveled by a light vehicle. All right, but this is cannot be seen, right? So this is very interesting. And also, we got a statement from the Twitter developer in 2010, actually 10 years ago, where they claim that the tweet consumes approximately 100 joules of energy, which is 0.02 grams of CO2 emission. That means Twitter carbon footprint is relatively low, they said. So it's about 50 million tweets sent out daily emit 1 metric ton of CO2. For the comparison, in 2006, a single American family emitted an average of 24 metric tons of CO2 from home energy use and transportation combined. So it means that Twitter is more green. Oh, we don't know, right? We don't know. And what about YouTube? YouTube is very interesting also. We got an article here from the Guardian that revealed that 1 gram of CO2 was emitted for every 10 minutes of YouTube watch, or around 0.0017 grams per second. So what does it mean? It means like when you are like watching, like you are a late night watching a funny cat videos, for example. Remember that actually those adorable, cute, and cuddly fur balls means you are contributing to the breakdown of the ozone layer. So we didn't expect this, right? So yeah, for me it's also very interesting. So every tweet sent, every image posted, and every Facebook status update uses energy. This data is stored in the data banks that the majority of which are run by a non-renewable energy resource. So when we consider the enormous influence of the internet and the billions of everyday users, the price suddenly becomes tangible. So this is why the internet has a very real environmental impact. So yes, of course, we should do something, right? As a young professional, actually what we can do as you are here actually means that you begin to take a small step rather than do anything. All right, so a big information also, I saw a video from CNBC Indonesia this week, because our speaker today from Indonesia. So this is very interesting also, that it said that the capital city of Indonesia, which is Jakarta, is a ranked first of the world's most environmentally vulnerable city and may be sunken in 2050. Wow. All right, so this is a big issue, I think, for all of us. So today we are not going to see sustainability from the architecture spectacles. Instead, we have a young professional and UX designer that she will share her knowledge and everything like about sustainable in the technology. So I don't know much about UI and UX as well. So today I'm so excited. All right, so special today we have Nadya Arizka from Indonesia. She is an IT graduate turned to a UX designer. Nadya has a bachelor degree in engineering, specifically in information technology. She has worked in the UI UX field for almost 4 years across a couple of unicorn tech companies. And she specializes UI UX in digital products like mobile apps and websites. So on the other side, she also doing the graphic design projects. All right. Okay. Maybe I'll call Nadia. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Thank you for being here. No, so I think now I'll pass to you.
Okay, thank you for having me, Desta.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing. All right.
Okay, maybe let me share my screen first.
All right, we can see. Nice.
Okay, you guys can see it, right? Okay, so first of all, thank you, Desta, for the warm welcome. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, all, and happy Saturday. So nice to be here and be able to like share a little bit about what I know in the field that I'm passionate about, which is UI UX. And hopefully we're all like staying healthy and safe in this still challenging situation. I know. Oh yeah, and a little notes. Don't forget to get vaccinated, guys, if you haven't already. Okay, so you guys might wonder, like, what is a UX designer doing speaking in an event titled The Future of Sustainability, with like literally all the other speakers before me and after me has at least a background in like architect or like sustainability. And then out of the blue, there is me, a UX designer. So, well, as Desta mentioned previously, maybe you can think of today's session as like intermezzo or as like a new information about sustainability in other topic in other spectacle other than architects. So hopefully you guys will be able to learn something new from today's sessions. And before I get into the actual business, maybe let me introduce myself again. Okay, so here's a little bit background about me. My name is Nadya Arizka. You can just call me Nadya. Born and raised in Indonesia, but currently I'm staying in Singapore, which it's only been around like 2.5 months ago, which I moved here during COVID global pandemic. But nothing can beat this kind of experience. It was kind of like once in a lifetime experience, but thankfully loving Singapore so far. And if you're wondering what I'm doing in Singapore, I'm actually working as a UX designer. So I've previously worked as a UX designer in one of Indonesia's tech company for several years. And now I'm pursuing my career here in Singapore. So you guys don't worry if you have never heard about what is UX designer, what is UI designer. And hopefully after this session, you will get to learn that about UX and UI design. And if you have heard about UX design, then good for you guys. Hopefully you will also get to learn something new. Or if not, then at the very least, you get to meet new people here, which is always a great thing, right? Okay. So enough about me. I also want to know about you guys too. So maybe you can like a little like simple intro in the chat about like what's your name, where you're from, what's your background. I'm gonna try to look at some of the answer maybe. Okay, anyone else? Anyone want to introduction? Oh, Rosi from Indonesia. Hi, hello. Anyone else maybe? Okay, we got Rida, singer from Malaysia. Hi. Okay, so Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia. I see some of you guys, like a lot of you guys are from architecture, right? Okay. Manila, Padang, hi. Okay, so, all right, let's get back to the business. Okay, so hi, nice to meet you guys all. Okay, so now let's just get started with the session. Today in today's sessions, the goal is for us to get to know and understand a little bit about UX and UI and what can me as a UX and UI contribute in sustainability, since our big theme today is like about sustainability. Okay, so to achieve today's goal, I'll be explaining a few basic topics related to UX and UI about like what's UI UX, why UI UX important, and then the process of UX and UI in practice. So specifically for this topic, I'm going to be sharing about my process that I do based on my experience. So if you find any other UX designer out there that might not have the same exact process as me, it's like expected. So yeah, since the big theme of this event is sustainability, I will also explain about how UX and UI can contribute in sustainable future. And the last session would be the Q&A. So if you have any question you want to ask, just write down in the chat, and then I'll try to answer it later at the end, or you can just directly ask me during Q&A. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, which is what is UI UX anyway? Well, to answer this question, you guys might want to sit tight, grab your popcorn or your snacks, because I'm going to share with you a little history, just a little, so that you guys don't get bored. All right, so this little history that I'm about to tell you is called the dawn of UX. So the dawn of UX. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, P.S. it was only in America, lived a man named Donald Norman. Okay, so this is the man. He's famously known as Don Norman. In 1993, when Don Norman worked at Apple, he had actually discussed something to his team at Apple. I think it was after sometimes, Apple computer has just launched in the market. And then he said to his team, I think that the experience of when you first discover the computer is weak. He said that to his team. And then when the experience of when you first discover it in a store, and then the experience when you're buying it, and when you cannot fit the box, such a big box, in your car, and then when you open the box, you see this really strange looking computer, because like back then, computer was considered as a new technology, especially for personal use. So people back then never seen something or used something like a computer before. And then he said like, this experience is weak. And he said that every experience that touches upon the product, even not just when we are near the product, it's actually the whole experience end to end. That's what he actually meant by the term user experience when he first coined it. So it's really the whole experience end to end when you're interacting with the product. That's essentially what UX is. And I would say he's like the father of UX now. So yeah, a little side notes. If you want to know more about what he did, you can actually go to Nielsen Norman Group. Just Google it. You will find every research and every article about him. So yeah, that's basically a short history of how this man, Don Norman, coined the term UX. But I really think, apart from the little history that I just told you, the general concept of UX itself has existed way, way before 90s. I think the moment people start designing the experience of a product based on the needs of their users and the people who uses the product, that's what UX is all about. So I believe even back then, when there is still no digital app, there is still no computer, or even there is still no internet, the general concept of UX itself is already exist. It's just designing for a different kind of product, for example, a physical product. But now, since we're living in an era, especially from like the last decade, where everything has gone mobile, everything is computerized to the point where you have your smart microwave, we have smart car, smartwatch, everything is basically, our devices are really smart, right? So right now, the UX field itself has been divided into a more specialized job or context when you have a specific UX designer designing for embedded devices, UX designer for virtual reality, and then UX designer for mobile app and websites. But in today's session, I'm just going to be focusing more on the UX on digital product because that's what I know best, since my product that I worked on revolves around mobile apps and websites. So yeah. Okay, so now that you know a little history about UX and the man who first coined the term, I want to ask you, who here knows this product or app? Other than the fact that I already mentioned the name of the app here, which is Spotify. But I believe most, if not all of you guys would know what app this is, right? This is Spotify, the one we always use to accompany us during car rides or during commuter, during daily work, right? What about this? Easy, Google Maps. I mean, at least I can't go anywhere without Google Maps. I don't know any places here in Singapore without Google Maps. And next, what about this? YouTube, obviously, right? Who doesn't know this? Our best friend during this whole quarantine, providing us with a whole new entertainment, you know. And then we have Instagram, we have Facebook, Amazon, blah, blah, blah. And then this last one, maybe not a lot of people know this, but let me tell you guys, this one is actually one of a computer software that NASA have to monitor the satellite in the space somehow. And if I show you all the app or software or websites that we have these days, it would take forever for me to present it, but you get my point, right? Do you know what this digital product have in common? Well, all this product, regardless if it is digital product or physical product, they all have what we call end users, people who uses the product, people who are interacting firsthand with this product, people who are experiencing this digital product directly. Okay, but how do this app or website are built in a certain way that our end users can use them easily without difficulties, without frustration, and then get the best experience possible? Well, you guys are right. This is where UX and UI coming in. So our task as UX and UI designers, especially for digital product, is basically to try and ensure when we are designing these apps or website or software, the end users can use them easily and get the best experience possible. So you might wonder, I've been mentioning a lot about UX and UI up to this point. Then what is the difference between both of these then, right? Well, actually, both of these are like a package that you cannot separate from each other, because without UI, you will not be able to deliver the full user experience of a product, and vice versa. So let me explain this one using an analogy of when we are building a house, since maybe most of you guys are like an architect. So when you plan on building a house, at first you would think about how it will be used. So in the user experience of building a digital app, we start structuring the plan of the house. And so essentially we're kind of like deciding where the door going to be placed, where the window is going to be placed, how big is the room is going to be, right? And then in the user interface or UI phase, we are deciding like how to create the feelings of the house, the style and the tone of the house, like what color should we use. And then, yeah, it's equivalent to like creating the look and the feel of a room. Is it going to be modern? Is it going to be lean? Or is it going to be cozy? How does it make you feel? And etc. So if I put it into words, UX design considers more about like what kind of problems and the pain points that user came up against and how to solve them. So it's like a basic starting point of creating a digital app. As for UI, it is considered more about the visual aspects. Okay, so this is a quote that I got from the internet about difference of UX and UI, another analogy. So a UI without UX is like a painter slapping a paint onto the canvas without a thought, without any structure. While UX without UI is like the frame of a sculpture with no paper mesh on it. So essentially like a great product experience start with UX and then followed with UI. And both are like really essential. And now that you guys know about what is UI UX, maybe another question arises. Then why is UI UX important? Especially when we talk about digital product. Well, at this point, I hope you guys are aware that without UI UX, a product might not be built according to what our users actually need. So let me give you guys an example. I have yet another analogy. Can't you tell I just love using analogy? Okay, so this analogy is to help explain how UI UX role come into play within the whole scheme of digital product development. So as you can see here, we have an image of a rocket. So think of this rocket as a digital product or app. And then the first part of the image is telling us that this is the product that the team has planned. It has all these cool features. It can do A to Z fancy functions. It has basically every feature that you can think of in a rocket. And then once we actually looking into the development of the process, all those fancy features, some of the fancy features kind of disappear because of the limitation. Either tight timeline, limited resources, and other numerous reasons as to why these fancy features cannot be launched. But the truth is, it turns out that what the users actually need wasn't even a whole rocket. What the user need is just a simple bike and a small ramp. So this is a simple yet extreme explanation of building a product, a digital product, without focusing on UX and UI. All the fancy plans of the product might not be what our users need. So imagine if the role of UX and UI was involved in the first place. So we would be able to capture what is it exactly that our user need. And it will definitely save everyone's a lot of time, a lot of effort, because, we might not need to build a whole rocket after all, because users just need a bike and a simple ramp. And this one, next image, is also a simple analogy that can represent if a product was made without focusing on UI UX and without taking users' needs into considerations. The team we might think that the product is it's so cute and has all these great features and has all these cute dolls and has a really interesting look. But all this fancy feature didn't even meet user expectation, which is, as you can see from the baby's perspective on the right side of the image. So based on that two analogy, why UI UX is important in product development process is to avoid all of that from happening. So we are here to represent and communicate the user needs and make sure that what we're actually developing is aligned with the user's need and that we are able to deliver the best experience for a product so that the end user, people who actually uses the product, will use our product. Okay, and how UX and UI designer do that? Well, that brings us to the third point, which is the process. So this is typically a process of what I do in practice as a UX UI designer in my day-to-day job. Well, generally the process of designing experience of a product might vary from one designer to the other. It really depends on the product and the designer itself and the situations. But in general, I think we can refer to the process of UI and UX design as design thinking process. Well, at least this is what I've been referring to during my day-to-day job as a UX designer. Okay, so this is a clearer image for you guys. So based on this image, you can see that the process starts from empathize up to the testing steps. But to remind you, this process is not always sequential as it is on the image. It really is, depends on the state of the project that you are working on, because not all the project that we did actually a new product. It can be like an existing app or a website that we need to improve. And then to do that, we basically can do the process starting from testing maybe. We can test the existing app to learn about our users' perspective and our users' thought. And then after that, we can maybe go to ideate. It really depends on the state of the product or the project. So to define it in word, the design thinking process is a nonlinear iterative process that we use to understand users and redefine problems and create innovative solutions, which at the end of the day, we're going to be using that solutions to prototype and test with the users again. Okay, so as a UX designer, UX and UI designers, we are working very closely with our users of our product. So using design thinking process, it really helps us to achieve these three goals. The first one is we are ensuring that we're actually focusing on our users. Basically, the design thinking process, it helps us to focus on what is the user's problem, what kind of problem that they are facing, what is users' conditions or situation is like, how is their routine. And then the second one is designing the right thing and designing the thing right. Okay, so once we are focusing on users and we already define what is actually the problem, from there, we can analyze and whether we are designing the right thing. Once we know that we are designing the right thing, then we can start designing the thing right. Hopefully you guys are not confused with that. Okay, so the third one is aligning team's vision. So yeah, since a lot of the team are involved together in design thinking process, so design thinking process can help align with the team visions as well. All right, so let's continue on. I'm going to be explaining about each steps of the whole design thinking process, which has like 5 steps, which is the first one is empathize and understand, which is this one. Okay, so basically in the first process as a UX designer, what we do is we try to empathize and understand our users. I think I mentioned this earlier that designing digital product can be analogous to designing a building or a house, but obviously excluding all the complex mathematical calculation because we didn't use any of mathematical calculation when designing digital products. Okay, so the way we try to empathize and understand our users is we as a UX designer, we usually ask some of basic questions to understand more about our users. The question itself can revolve around who will be using this product, how are their habit and routine of doing a specific task, and then what are their pain points and stuff like that. And probably in architecture, it would be asking questions along the lines of how many people will be living in the house, how many rooms do we need, how are their routine and necessities. And so if we kind of compare it side by side, it really is kind of similar. It's just like the object that we are designing is what makes it different. Okay, so to conclude, the goal or the purpose of this first step is to first understand what our users need. Second, to create relevant products. And the third one is to create a high impact product to user experience. Okay, so again, let me bring you back to this image. Do you remember, right? So if we don't build our empathy to, or we don't understand our users, which is in this case, the user is the baby, we wouldn't know that the product we are designing is not right. Because from our perspective, oh, it's such a cute, pretty toy and has all of this cute doll. And I believe our babies would like this. That's what we would say, right? But it turns out if we empathize and we understand from the baby perspective, well, from the baby's perspective, they're just looking at an elephant's butt. So yeah, that's how important the first step is. Okay, so this next part is about the method that we use to empathize or understand with our users, because let's be honest, designers are not mind reader. We cannot read people's mind. So we need a bunch of methods to better understand our users. So yeah, the most commonly used method for, we say user research, are IDI or in-depth interview. It's basically like a one-on-one interview where we get to interview our users personally. And then the second one would be the FGD. This is a focus group discussion. So this is done if we want to get like a multiple different answers regarding one topic from a bunch of people. And then we also have survey and card sorting. Actually, card sorting can be used if you want to categorize information and how user perceive that kind of information. Okay, and then the last one is ethnography. So in this method, it's like a pretty interesting method because we kind of follow the users in their real life routine. So this is done so that we can understand, oh, this is their habit, oh, this is their behavior. And so this is what we basically do. We follow our users' day-to-day job. Okay, so basically in this first steps, which is empathize and understand, the expected result, we will be seeing user background, user needs, what are their pain points, and then what are their existing solutions, what they like and they don't like, and etc. Okay, so let me give you guys an example. Since our theme today is about sustainability, and there are topics that related to sustainability, like environmental sustainability, but yeah, so let's just say we want to develop an app that can monitor energy consumption. So then in this first process, as a UX designer, we'll ask questions like, do people monitor their energy consumption? And then how do they perceive their energy consumption? And how do people monitor it? What kind of information the user might need? And all of those questions will be answered by our users. And then those kind of insight will later be used to help us design the right kind of interface, the right kind of app for the monitoring energy consumption. Okay, and that's for the first step. We still have 4 more. Hopefully you guys are not bored. Okay, so the second one is define, the second step after empathize, which is this one. Okay, so in the step, we basically try to compile all of the data and insight that we got from the first step, which is the research or the empathize. And then we might find and list down a lot of user problems from the first step. And that's why we also need to choose which problem to prioritize, right? Which problem to solve, because it's too many. We can't do it all. And so we have this method called affinity diagram and then user persona. So in this affinity diagram is used for us to categorize the problem that can be grouped into like similar topics or theme. As for user persona, it's like profiling of our users. This can help UX or UI designer to always remember, oh, this product is we designed this product for these users. So yeah, those are the two methods that we usually use. And for the second step, let's bring back the example from the first one, which is the app to monitor energy consumption. So in the steps, as a UI or UX designer, we will try to define who the users are using the user persona. So we can categorize the users, for example, for monitoring energy consumption. Maybe the users would be from business and then from family household users that will monitor energy consumption. And then based on these two users, what problem are they facing? For example, we found out from the first step that, oh, it's not in our users' habit to monitor their energy consumption. And the second problem, like, oh, it is kind of hard for users to know the information on how much energy they're consuming or how much energy they're saving. So those kind of problem that we can expect to see on the second step. As for the next step is the ideate, which is the third one. Okay, so in ideation, UX and UI designer usually start to think outside the box. So we try to look for innovation or ideas that can solve users' problem that we find previously. So for our ideation itself, we usually discuss together with the team. So it's not just designer only. We usually include product manager, the other designers that involved in the project, and then developers like programmers and stuff to come up with several ideas or several solutions. And then from there, we can decide which solution is the best one to develop. Okay. And as for the method that we usually use for these third steps, it's just we use brainstorming. So yeah, as a team, we obviously want to have like the same target problem. Okay, so once we get to think and brainstorm about a lot of ideas and a lot of solutions in the real world practice, we also need to decide which solution or ideas to develop. So to do that, we use this action priority matrix or 2x2 matrix. So this matrix really helps us to prioritize which solution to develop first. We will see based on the impact and based on the effort of product of a solution. Okay, so the example for this third process, again, we use the example of monitoring energy consumption. As we know that we define our users into two, which is business and family household users. And our problem is first, it's not in users' habit to monitor their energy consumption. And second, it's hard for users to know information about how much energy they're consuming. And in this ideation process, we can think of an idea to solve this problem. So for example, it's not in users' habit to monitor their energy consumption. So then for this, we can ideate on how to we motivate users to check how much energy they're consuming. It can be in form of gamification of challenges. So like, for example, if users are able to save X amount of energy or X amount of money, then we can reward them with something, either like points or something that we can that they can collect. And then for the second problem, which is, oh, it's hard for users to know information about how much energy they're consuming. So for this, we can actually ideate on how to show the clear information of how their energy consumption is. It can be in form of graph or also an information that can actually relate with the user's need, like the cost that they have spent on a certain energy that they have consumed, and yeah, etc. It can be a lot of ideas. And the fourth step would be prototyping, which is the fourth one. Okay, so for prototyping, the idea of prototyping was to allow the ideas that we have chosen before on the previous steps to become something more tangible or visible to both the team and the users. Because previously it was just an idea. It was not like a visually or visible thing that can be seen. So yeah, in the stage, with the prototyping, we are expecting to achieve this goal. The first one, we can make the abstract concrete, which is making the idea become a real product, a prototype. And the second, we help real user to engage with the product, since it is obviously a prototype, so user can interact with it. And then the third one is easier to collect feedback, because when user interact with it, then we can ask them what's their feedback on this product. And why we need prototyping? Well, again, the primary goal of prototype is, at the end of the day, is to design and to test the design and test our product ideas before we develop to the real product. So it is important because we need to ensure that the design concept or ideas is that we design is work as is intended. Okay, so this is actually kind of the two type of prototype that we UX or UI design use. There are two, which is low fidelity and high fidelity. For the low fidelity, it's just like a wireframe. For this, we usually use this to validate design ideas or design concept into tangible, something tangible that can be seen. And then just to test like functionality rather than testing the visual appearance of the product. As for high fidelity, we use this. This is like as similar as possible to the actual product that we want to launch to the market. So it will test the overall product, including visual appearance, the function, and also maybe we can use this to get approval from the stakeholder or higher level management. And then what we do after prototyping? Well, the next step is testing, which is this one. Okay, so in the step, we can test our solution and design ideas by validating it with our users, because one of the most important thing in design thinking process is users. So we really need to validate to users whether our designs or our solutions is what the user is expected. And during this test, we will ask users if they have any difficulties doing a certain task, and if when they are using the product, they are able to achieve their goal. Okay, so I'm gonna play you a short video. This is like an example of how we usually do user testing. So as you can see on the left side of the video, that's actually the prototype that we are making. It's not actually a real product. So we will have users to try out this prototype of the product, and we will going to have them to do several tasks regarding to what the app is about. And they will have to think out loud. They will have to like voice out their opinion on the app, if there's any difficulties, if they found the app confusing and stuff like that. Yeah, well. Okay, so in this last the testing steps, what do we analyze? Do we need to analyze something? Well, the answer is yes. As a UX and UI designer, we do look at successful scenarios and tasks that we bring into the user to try to test out. So we kind of like give scoring to the tasks that the users are carried out. Like for example, in this, we can see the task 1 until 8, and task 1 is like upload. We ask them to please upload the image and then post a message and stuff like that. And then there are 5 testers here. So for each tester that have done each task, we will score them based on whether or not they are performing the task quickly and with no trouble, or if they are some struggle but they still finish the task, or they literally cannot perform anything. So based on this, we will be analyzing which tasks that need to be improved in terms of the UX. Okay, so yeah, this is an example of if we want to create an app for monitoring energy, the scenario would be like this, and the task would be, as you can see here. And then what's next? I mean, we have checked all the steps. We checked all the boxes, like 5 of this, right? So, and then what is the next thing? The next thing is, it really depends on the test or validations result. It depends on the timeline, depends on the discussion with the team as well. If all is good and there is no critical problem that we need to solve, then the answer is our design can be handed over to the developer to be built and to, programmed and coded so that users can actually use this and access it. And so next, we finally get into the last point in today's sessions. Previously, I've talked about the general overview of UX and UI and how the process is like, how we came about to design a specific digital product. But since we are talking about sustainability, then what UX and UI designers can help to contribute to sustainability? So I think when we talk about sustainability, especially in this one, we are going to be elaborating more on the environmental sustainability. I think we are all agree that we are aware of this type of slogan that I show you in the slides. I mean, we know that we should turn off the lights when we leave the room. We know we need to print. We don't need to print an email if it's like not important. And then we know that we can help to reduce, recycle things to help a more environmentally stable, sustainable future. But those things are pretty tangible move, and we can see the physical action. But there is a massive carbon footprint that we might not aware or notice after all, and it's getting bigger, as Desta also mentioned previously. And yes, the answer is the internet, the almighty internet, the one that we are using right now. Even for doing this webinar. So yeah, it's kind of sad actually knowing that we have tried so hard to turn off the light. No, I've turned off the light when leaving the room, and I've done all the reduce, reuse, recycle movement. But then there is this internet, something that we have never thought of, contributing to environmental issue. And then you might wonder, like, how in the world something that is cloud-based and basically not existing in the physical world can emit carbon? Like, we can't even physically see internet, right? Well, all the infrastructure around the world that stores our information and keeps us connected, including like satellites, cables, what else? Data centers that make up the internet. And obviously the electricity we use, they all have carbon footprint of their own. But well, it's not all doom. While I believe that we should, of course, be concerned with how much electricity the internet is using, there are also reasons to be optimistic about this whole digital revolution and the internet, because there are still numerous ways for us to contribute in helping this issue. As for UX and UI contribution, when we're talking about sustainability, especially environmental sustainability, there are two things that UX and UI can contribute in. This is from my personal opinion. So the first one is indirectly, and the second one is directly. So indirectly means that when we try to design, incorporate sustainable UX design. So why did I say indirectly? Well, because for this first one, users are not directly involved. It's just how UX and UI designers have the power to choose a better design options for sustainability purposes. And then the second one is directly, where we directly support designing a product feature that promotes sustainability, which will involve our users' action in using this product. So actually, when you think about it, in principle, good UX is already an environment sustainable. So not only that we are benefiting the users because of a good user experience, like, the users are not frustrated with our product, but we are also benefiting the environment from the accumulation of small energy saving. And how come I say good UX means small energy saving? Well, sustainable websites or apps, I believe it doesn't come at the cost of user experience. It's not like we have to sacrifice the good UX to achieve a sustainable environment. Because good UX doesn't solely mean that we are solving users' problem, but we also need to deliver the best experience possible. And some of the method that we can do to achieve best experience possible is first, reducing the time our users needed to browse our app or our website by providing clear UX and then clear information, which means users can use less data. If the users can perform their intended actions like really quickly in the website and app, which means our users will need less time and fewer clicks. And so the more complicated your site or your website or your app, the more energy it consumes when loaded. So yeah, basically good UX equal to a sustainable environment. And then the second one is optimizing page load speed. So this can contribute not only to reduce bounce rate or users leaving the page, but it also contributing to a more sustainable environment. And then the third one, which is each element of the apps or each element of the apps and websites can be actually removed. So what kind of element? We are talking about graphics, animations, unnecessary micro interactions or unnecessary animations, or a big chunk of code that is pretty much can be simpler. And then those kind of element has a bearing on energy footprint. The sites that load slowly draws more energy and then equal to, unsustainable environment. And if we remove the unnecessary element in our apps or our website, then it just means remove the whole user journey can means we can provide less data for our users to use because they don't need to see those unnecessary element anymore. So essentially, sustainable UX design means smarter and then more efficient websites, and then a better UX and a greener internet. Okay, so this one is the second one, which is directly support product feature that promotes sustainability. So to directly support product that promotes sustainability, since a lot of digital product that UX and UI build are affecting physical environment like transportation, ride hailing app, Grab, Uber, Gojek, travel app, Traveloka, Trip, Skyscanner, food, delivery food, and then printing, delivery processes, shopping, e-commerce, etc. And then we, as UX and UI designer, our task is to build a product that shape behavior and habit of a lot of people that uses the product. So, it can be a million of people. So just imagine if those millions of people can be more aware and conscious about sustainable options, then, it's a great steps towards sustainable future, especially when we talk about environment. Like, for example, in terms of like environment, maybe at this point, there might not be a lot of people are consciously aware all the time about what is environmental sustainability. So maybe we can try to understand what are our users need, and we can design a more sustainable choices around that primary user needs. We can maybe help to introduce and educate people towards a more environment sustainable things. Yeah, so the steps to create that habit, it can be starting from introduce users to environmentally sustainable options. And then after we introduce and educate users, then users will try it. And we can help to design to get user the comfortable with the experience of using that product. And then we can also help retain the users. And after the users becoming aware of and comfortable, you just need to motivate them to even more using a more sustainable options. So this is like one of a real example of UX and UI designing environmentally responsible choices around the user's need. For example, food delivery, like when you order food in like Uber or Uber Eats or Grab Food, there's actually a lot of app that currently promoting to order plastic cutlery only if you need it. So as you can see in the image, the default design of this option, the default one is no plastic cutlery. And the more people used to this kind of experience, the more people we can introduce to more environmentally sustainable options. Even though this is just a small example of how UX and UI design contributing to this whole environmentally sustainable future, but imagine the impact of thousands or a million people of using these features. And then another real example is ticketing apps or website for flight ticket. They contribute in introducing a more eco-friendly choices by incorporating like this type of information in their design. So at the very least, we get to educate and introduce other people about the idea of environment sustainable. So when they see, oh yeah, okay, my flight is like kind of eco-friendly. So then once they are more aware and hopefully they are aware of the value that they bring to the environment and the earth, they can make better choices in the future too. So yeah, that's basically it. And so this is a couple of key takeaway that we can get from today's sharing session. So the first one is UX and UI, not only designing pretty looking interface, but it is more about solving users' problem. And then design thinking process is not only applicable to UX and UI, but it can also applicable to other areas. And the last one, good UX and UI can actually contribute to a good and environmentally sustainable future. But we may not be able to completely remove that kind of issue, but we can at least try to help reduce them with like small details that we can develop or we can design. Okay, so thank you, makasih. That's all from me. Hopefully you guys get something interesting or some new information about UX and UI and how we contribute in sustainability. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pass it back to Desta.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Today's presentation is wonderful. It's so insightful. And everybody, don't forget to follow Nadya Arizka on Instagram. And
you want to check out?
Also LinkedIn, okay?
Yeah, LinkedIn maybe or Instagram.
All right. So this I didn't expect that I can get this kind of information. Actually, it's super amazing. Even when you do the presentation, actually me and Rida are texting each other and we say like, oh my God, it's super, super amazing. All right. Okay. So before we're going to the Q&A sessions, I would just to inform you all the participants here joining us with the on the Zoom room. If you would like to ask a questions, put it on the chat box, and you also can let me know if you want to speak out your burning questions. I will call your name, and you can unmute yourself, and then don't forget to mention your name and your country. And for you also who are attending here on Zoom, yeah, not on Facebook. We have put the Google form for the e-certificate, yeah. So please fill it out, and we will send the e-certificate. Sorry, no. Before I say it, we will send a certificate. But basically, you can go to the same link for the registrations, and you can find another button to download the e-certificate. So as this time, actually, we already provide the link for the session 1 certificate, and for the session 2 and session 3. We still need time to processing it because there are 100 participants each of the session. So we need to really write your name one by one. So we need the time for that. So once we finish with all the certificate, of course, we will upload on the same page for the registration link. All right. This is so amazing. Again, thank you, Nadya.
Thank you for having me.
So actually, right, I didn't expect that our screen design that everybody we are looking at the website, the mobile apps, yeah. So it's already passing through a lot of super long process. Like
Right.
you did from very scratch. You think with your team. You did the survey. You maybe interview people, right? You interview a lot of people, and you create the idea process, made kind of a hypothesis, and then until it can finally be developed by the developers teams. So it's really amazing. And then another thing, all right, so designing the mobile apps and all the user experience, we should really going through all the 5 steps, yeah, like the empathy one, the divine, the ideate, sorry, the prototype and test. And then even like when we already going through some steps, whether we need to check whether it can be continued or we should go back. So it's like a go back and forth process, right? So
Yeah.
oh my God.
It's like an iterative process, but really since I'm a part of a team, and then I'm a part of a business, so really have like a timeline and the deadline. So
I see.
yeah, so it's not like always we have to like go back right now. Maybe we can like launch the first version, and then to see if the users will take it or if there is any improvement, and then after that, there is a lot of version that can goes into an app.
I see. And then the one that I really get interesting too is the elephant's butt.
Yeah.
So I never think about that. When we think also for architect, sometimes we have our own thinking like, oh, I like this style, but actually the customer, the clients, this is not the best choice, not the best practice for the clients. So, well, I think think of a similar between the UX designer and the architects. And the last point is like what I got from your presentation is so less data use means like a less clicks, also fewer clicks.
Yeah.
It means like a less energy, and then we can contribute more in the sustainability movement, right?
Right.
All right, so interesting. Okay, I will call out Rida to join us.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very beautiful presentation, Nadia.
Thank
I
you.
really love it so much. Especially presenting to a lot. I think a lot of architects came to this platform right today. Yeah. One thing I want to share with you is a lot of architects we actually use this UX UI apps in our daily life.
Yeah.
in our work at all, because in our work we don't tackle mass market. We tackle only small market lah.
I
But
see. Yeah.
these are things that's going to be changed in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of other apps that's coming up, like previously Fiverr, Truelancer, and then with the new movement of metaverse.
Oh, metaverse.
Meta universe.
Oh,
Crypto.
what is it about?
Decentralization, crypto.
Oh.
So that will actually change the UX UI. Bitcoin, all those things.
Oh, yeah.
So my question to you is, how can like a normal people, we can actually learn about, start to embark ourselves into this UX UI to become a designer, or to get the simple skills? Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, you want to become a US
Or you want to convert?
I don't want to convert. I will call Nadya to help me, but I just for aspiring young architects who wants to actually learn new skills.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, in my case, since I also learn IT in my campus, so I don't actually got like a formal education in UX and UI, but I think since the demand of UX and UI has surged especially like in the past 5 years or so, there has been a lot of like informal or even formal education that provides, you can learn something like a really good UX and how to build an app, or how to even collaborate with the team. So not just being a lone ranger of UX. So that's the first one, would be like the formal or informal education. And then the second one is like maybe the free version one. You can always like internet, yeah, even though we are kind of contributing to the sustainability environment, but like, yeah, you can find anything in the internet. I personally search any resources from Don Norman websites, which is Nielsen Norman Group. So you can find out every research UX that he did from there. So any other resources would be like, you can find it in Medium. So medium.com, it's actually a lot of UX or UI designers that I know. They post a lot of articles there. You can also learn from there, and maybe, like get at least a little basic and a little theory about what UX and UI is. So from there, maybe after that, if you feel interested, then you can maybe enroll to more informal or formal educations. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like, because a lot of us are actually trying to explore, because this during pandemic, we cannot go out. So we are exploring all our service into e-commerce.
Yeah.
To sell our whatever we have at home.
Yeah.
That's why.
All right. So maybe I will check the chat box. There are some questions from Chong Tun Pat. This is not question, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I will pass this. Okay, from Pak Teddy. Wow, Pak Teddy, thank you for supporting us. You always join us every week. So amazing, Pak Teddy. You turn on your camera. Alright.
Our supporter.
Mic-nya Pak nyalain dulu.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Pak Teddy.
Forget the mic.
Alright, mungkin langsung tanya aja Pak. You can ask the question.
No, you can help me, please.
Alright. No worry. She understand Indonesian as well. Maybe we will translate later. Okay, Pak Teddy, maybe your question. Using internet whole day in bedrooms is harmful for our health. Okay, so for the health. Any idea, Rizka? Nadya, sorry. I usually call you.
mental health.
Using internet whole day our bedrooms is harmful or for our health. I mean, it's for a whole day, like 24/7, I think. Probably yes. Maybe we need to stretch out a little bit. But like but like the internet itself is actually like digital revolutions, right? So it kind of help us doing a lot more stuff easier. So I think it's kind of 50-50. At least if you want to use internet, just don't use it excessively, of course. So yeah, I think for a whole day, maybe just stretch out a little bit. And that's the question from Pak Teddy.
Iya.
Desta,
ya.
Bisa saya bertanya, bantu pakai bahasa Indonesia dulu ya.
Siap.
Maksud saya, internet kita di dalam kamar tidur, nyala 24 jam. Tidak kita pakai ya. 24 jam ya, dia misunderstanding dia ya. Jadi misalnya terpakai satu hari 10 jam. Nah, internetnya hidup terus di dalam kamar, apakah itu bisa mempengaruhi kesehatan tubuh kita?
Alright.
Please translate in English.
Okay. Yeah, I can translate because some of the participants here are not English speaking. So the question is actually if we have internet in our bedroom, it may be like a Wi-Fi thing, So it's
correct, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. We cannot.
Wi-Fi, correct.
All right. So we cannot see this, but it might be. I don't know. It's like flying through our bed or something. I don't know. So, the question is, does this can being harmful or have a damage to our health?
Okay.
I don't know whether you can answer this or not.
Okay, to be honest, I'm gonna raise my hands up because I don't know the exact answer to this. Because like, I really don't know if there is any health repercussion about like the electro something. So yeah, I'm sorry I can't answer.
Ya.
Pak.
Pak tadi
Ya, enggak apa-apa.
yang tahu mungkin malah kedokteran ya mungkin karena kan paparan apa namanya, even I don't know in Indonesia. Not
Radiation is it?
Radiation, right? So the radiation, jadi radiasinya mungkin ya Pak. Cuman kita nggak tahu, mungkin kapan-kapan we can call someone who is expert in the health things. Maybe they can answer.
But it's a good question by Pak Teddy lah, because but if we look at the internet, no non-research have found that any impact yet, but probably there's some research on this here.
Belum ada riset yang impact ya Pak, bilang kalau ini ada impactnya untuk kesehatan, tapi mungkin akan ada riset-riset yang lain untuk membuktikan ini.
Ngerti, Desta, dia ngomong bahasa Inggris saya ngerti.
Okay, cause Malaysian.
Paham semua.
Easily understood.
Ya, cuma speaking itu prakteknya kurang di Mataram.
Oh, alright lah Pak. Ini makanya thank you joining us like every week ya.
Yeah.
After finishing all the sessions, you can speak.
That's the reason lah I joined this program.
It's already good lah. Oke Pak Teddy, nanti kalau ada pertanyaan boleh tanya lagi Pak. But I'm going to I have another direct message here from Nur.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you Pak. Nur Ashraf Muhammad, I think you Nur Ashraf Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
All right, you can just unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, hi. Okay, please mention
Hi,
your
everyone.
name and your country.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the time, and also thank you for this webinar. I think it's kind of a interesting topic, like architect and match up with UI UX field, and the even funnier that me myself, I'm graduate and as a architect, but also in the daily basis I also doing the UI UX stuff, just like Nadya, like it's kind of a freelance and stuff. So yeah, I think that's the interesting part of the architect kind of matchup and with this field. And my question would be in terms of like upcoming future technology with AR and VR and some kind of right now even some product basically use a smart home kind of thing, Alexa and something like that. And how this experience going to be, blend with architecture in its sense, like maybe some friend from architect field also can help to, have some thoughts on this, like basically, is it going to be, literally some movie, use some huge screen on the living room and something like that, and UX somehow, include to this kind of combination between architecture and UI design. Yeah, I think is it kind of possible, or is it kind of already on the road to that kind of future technology? And yeah, I think how you guys thought about this kind of future. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the question. And hi, fellow UX designers.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Sorry. Which part of Indonesia?
I'm based in Yogyakarta.
Oh, hi. I almost come from Jogja. Sama. Okay, so I think in terms from UI or UX perspective, I think there has been a lot of platform that I know of already exploring towards like VR and AR. So I believe that that's the future of our technology, since even like Google Maps, they also already implemented that AR or VR, right? So we can just like face our phone towards the road, and then they just give us information, which kind of like blends the technology between like the reality and the virtual reality, obviously. And I don't know, I personally think that's something that is possible, but I'm not sure when would the time come, because like for now I believe that the AR technology is still like being at least developed to be like a more kind of reality sense. Like if you ever watch a movie Ready Player One or something. Yeah, maybe in the future it would look like that, but I don't know when. Yeah, maybe the other.
Ida, you want to say something?
Yeah. I think the movement of AR and VR slowly incorporated in the world is a lot already in other industries, like especially Pertamina, Petronas, they oil and gas, they use a lot of AR, augmented reality, and then also VR, also a lot VR, a lot of VR, and then AR, augmented reality is widely used now in a lot of museums. So what we can, as an architect, I think we are a little bit late on this.
Yeah.
But in Singapore, some of the companies have started to have VR AR department. VR is actually for them to discuss with the clients when they do 3D. The clients and them can go into the building.
Yeah.
VR, and then in terms of augmented reality, from the user experience from the client, so that they can actually see how things are placed within the realm of reality. But as an architect, I think what we can do in the future is we start to actually learn about this AR VR, try to get your Oculus.
Yeah, Oculus.
Oculus binoculars. And then there's a lot of other movement is coming up, which is quite far advanced, which is the metaverse movement, where financial comes into in Decentraland. If you heard about Decentraland, it's actually a world of crypto in the meta universe. So that one probably is another, because they have the whole map of the world. there.
Yeah.
People are buying the lands online, and so that will be another world in I don't know. I see in the future that architecture, we as architects not only design physical, but we have to also design the metaverse world. So so that will be future lah.
I think just a bit information. I think not only Singapore, some of the architecture firm in Jogja, even in Yogyakarta, and especially in a big city like Jakarta and Bandung, I saw already they already use this kind of methods to present to their clients. They already use the VR, so they create, for example, a house, and then by wearing the Oculus, so the clients can experience really how the room will be and other things. I mean, this already being used a lot. And actually, a month ago, maybe someone from a company which is specialized in renderings, they contact me and they offer me some of these services. So actually, it's really interesting now. I think not all the architectural firm doing this by their own, because I think it needs a lot of energy, a lot of money, and a lot of times to have this kind of department like in Singapore, because Singapore the standard of the payment for architects different, of course, but in Indonesia maybe some of the company which is specialized on rendering, they already done this, and they start to have this kind of services.
I was talking to Danny the other day, Desta, about this client's design, architect's design, and Oculus. As Danny told me that whenever he does that, he put in Trimble or whatever, then get the client to buy the Oculus. Right. So, but then I told Danny, why don't you actually buy the Oculus and send to your client and charge triple?
Yeah.
So you can actually get the 3D and also the fee for actually acquiring the right type of gadgets. So this is the thing that is happening. Architect, we don't really know how to do. We are very good in creative, but we actually don't know how to do the business. That's something that we need to see lah.
That's why today the speaker we are inviting here is not an architect. So you can open more with a wider perspective, so we know what's happening actually in this world. Usually we talk about architecture, I think it's kind of boring. So that's why I think it's interesting. Okay, Nur, do you have any other questions?
I think a little bit follow up. To be honest, also I working on kind of startup in Yogyakarta with especially in VR and AR stuff, and I kind of know want to know like how the even Lumion, newest Lumions, and other platform already basically use this kind of feature to like present the client and something like that. And I think if the cap and basically the charge of this Oculus is still so expensive, maybe here in Indonesia somehow, and if there is that gap between the lack of technology knowledge and budget and stuff will be little conducive, will be a lot of massive and easier to use between either architect or even even contractor and all the practice to basically try or even training some of expert with like literal scale of subject, object, and everything. I think that should be future of both UI field and architect field. Thank you.
I think it's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
I think future Desta is now currently we are trying to create an arbitrary 3D for a physical adaptation on ground. But future is actually we will use all this AR and VR to actually for us to actually enter the IoT internet space. So that's why I'm thinking, because now in Uganda they are already doing the Binance Museum for NFT. So people go through online, but later on you can use the Oculus, can actually go into the NFT Binance Museum online. So these are actually 5 to 10 years technology that will come in the world. But I think Indonesia is quite advanced in AR VR.
I think so. I think if you watch some of the Japanese animation, yeah, they already have some of the story they told about this kind of thing. You will enter the IoT from everywhere lah, and then you
Yeah.
have a friend, you make friends and other things like the one that you send me, Rida. This.
Yeah. Like some of my oil and gas friends, they cannot make money in Malaysia to do AR VR. So they go to Indonesia to service Pertamina and the museums.
All right.
Because in Malaysia they don't have the market, but Indonesia they have the market. Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
interesting.
We just started here.
Interesting.
All right. So I need to move to other person who want to ask a question also. Maybe I will call out name Adinda Jasmine. Are you there? Hello, Adinda. Adinda. Okay. No answer. Okay. I will just read the question. Yeah. So the question is how to identify users' problem easily.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Easily. I mean, I don't know if there is a like easier method to identify users' problem, but yeah, what I would do is just we just kind of follow the process, which is the empathizing. And then like we kind of interview the users to really get to know like what is they're facing. And sometimes like for example when we are doing the user interview, it is not only about like their user's background, but we also sometimes test our design and our product to them, like the prototype of the product. And we will see like whether they are having problems or not. And sometimes they are not voicing out their opinion directly, but we can see like from the gesture and then from like maybe their eye movement or something that they are having difficulties or they having problems. So I think I just follow the process of doing the interviews and then defining the problem itself using like affinity diagram. And we usually like invite like several other designers, so we're not just working by ourselves to kind of define what's the user problem are. So maybe like having more designers to have a different perspective on users problem would help. So yeah, hope that answers the questions.
All right. Okay. So it's not just the matter of you. For example, we have paper with the questions, and then
Yeah, we actually
to people know. Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually like also looking at the the user's gesture, people's gesture, and then so there are company actually who invested in a specific roles such as UX researcher, and that's what they do on a daily basis. So they kind of observe what the users are doing. So it's not just about from the users word that they take in, but they also look at their gesture, their behavior, and stuff like that.
All right. So interesting. Okay. So another question is actually relate to the COVID situation. So, so COVID, it's been more than 1 year, and I think the one industry that really, having a more positive impacts is the online thing. Like a lot of people need to move to the online platforms. They sell online and other things. So in terms of this, and then seeing these situations, like as a UX designer, and you also work for before you work for one of the biggest company in the e-commerce industry. So is there any different thinking or concept or something that is really changed before and after the COVID?
Okay. In terms of the process, it's still the same, but we're just adapting So since, we do research, right? And the research is obviously based on what the current situation that our users is facing, which is COVID. And yeah, we take into consideration those kind of situation. So basically, the one that we need to adapt is like the feature that we are making. So for example, in terms of like e-commerce, there is like suddenly a search of people searching for masks, people searching for a surgical mask, like for example, and then we kind of adapt to that, to the feature. So we kind of give like update the feature according to the product manager and then the business side as well. And so like we kind of limit the user who can buy masks and stuff like that. So really the adaptation is just on the product feature that we are designing. So other than that, I think it's pretty much the same.
I see. All right. Okay, so another question is about the sustainability strategy. So basically, you already mentioned some of the strategy how the UX designer can be involved more in the sustainability movement. Uh, but based on your experience, other than you, maybe another other UX designers, have they really implement this kind of strategy and really even thinking about the sustainability when they are doing the UX design process?
To be quite honest, partly yes and partly no.
All right.
So this is an honest question, yeah. Honest answer. Okay, so as a designer myself, we obviously have our, what is it, like egoism, or like we want when we want to design something, we wanted it to be like this, and sometimes we kind of need to sacrifice that. But for the sake of like the sustainability and stuff, we actually have what we call the library system, or system library in our design, which consists of like components such as like buttons and image and stuff like that. And those kind of components are actually being regulated by our developer. So actually our developer, or the one who like do the programming and stuff, they obviously have certain limitation about like, oh, you cannot do this type of design, it will make the page load slower, and you cannot do this kind of too fancy feature because it will make the loading kind of mess up or something. So yeah, in a sense that we are being gatekept by our developer. So it really helped us to still going in the sustainable kind of way in designing. Yeah.
It's similar to architect and contractor, is it?
Right? Yeah, because we're being gatekept with the developers. No, you cannot do that.
You cannot be built lah. It's on your drawings. All right, so interesting. But maybe some of for example, you have an ideas which is related to the sustainability strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe when you are bringing this up in your team, and maybe your supervisor or another boss say like, oh no, it's like actually it will be cost much more rather than we do the common things. So has it really ever happened based on your experience? So relate the costs, right?
Oh, in terms of that, not really.
All right.
Yeah, not really. Never. Yeah, it actually never happened to me. So usually the like, if we have a request from like a request of feature, it usually like coming in either from the researcher based on the user research, and if we are able to like communicate it clearly to the supervisor or something. Yeah, sometimes they would say yes and sometimes they would say no, but in terms of like sustainability stuff, they never actually explore in the I never actually explore in the realm of sustainability features.
Oh, I see. All right, Rida, I think you want to add something.
Yeah,
Question, yeah, last question, this one.
just want to ask you, how do you make because a lot of people don't understand this what we do in the on internet, especially what is UI UX. How do you how do you advocate, especially baby boomers, about what do UI UX do? Because sometimes we want to explain to them also, it's very difficult. They because it does, you cannot see it physical. It's only it's only a platform, digital platform online, right? Is there a way that we can advocate this to the public better? Because when you meet clients,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to explain. Yeah.
Maybe just show them you have used this app, right? This is what we make. uh, that's interesting questions. Yeah, I actually haven't thought about that answer yet, but maybe let me think about that and I'll get back to you.
I think, Rida, we also, as a young generation, we should really learn about what happened in this world lah. Where you don't know about UI UX, you can search.
Actually, we also don't know what UI UX. I know you.
Didn't know. Now I know.
You and I, and you and my ex.
Yeah. All right. Oh my God, so funny. All right. It's very interesting questions, but yeah, I think even some of my friends still don't know about what is UI and UX.
Mm-hmm.
When we tell them that they already I get some ideas about this, but not really understand actually what the UI UX designers are doing.
It's an analogy for like when you are an architect, you design houses, and I design.
That's why we asked you to be a speaker today. So whoever will ask me about this or ask Rida, then we will just give them the link.
and then they will just read them by themselves.
I will give Nadia's number.
Oh my God! Oi.
Oh my God!
All right. Today is very interesting, of course, and it's almost 4 p.m. here in Singapore. In Malaysia, also almost 4 p.m. Yeah, the same time. It's a quite long. I think this is the longest webinar we ever had since the first sessions. But all the topics are very interesting. A lot of discussions as well, and I think, of course, it's not boring because we're not talking about architecture. Today is very interesting. I always say it's very interesting because it's really interesting. So again, thank you so much for Nadya for sharing your insights, so insightful, your knowledge and everything. We are really grateful and appreciate. And thank you also for everybody who's joining us today. We got a maximum capacity today, 100 participants at the peak hour. So amazing. So I think some of the other participants cannot enter because our limited capacity here is 100. So sometimes one or two come out, then one or two will come in. So so sorry guys, but actually if you miss this webinar, you still can rewatch this, and by just visiting our Facebook groups in ASEAN Young Architects. So you can just simply search on the ASEAN Young Architect on Facebook, and you can rewatch the webinar. Also this, okay, please share the slide notes in the slide notes. All right, so maybe the material, the PDF, if the speaker are okay to share, maybe we will share later. But otherwise, we need Nadia's permission to share the.
Yeah, I can share it.
Okay,
I will share it.
Thank you so much. All right, so before we close the webinar, let's do the photo sessions. Even though now it's only 74, but please turn on your camera and we will do the photo. Yeah, show yourself. All right, hold on. Okay, please turn on your camera and join the photo session.
Whoa, someone is driving.
What? Sorry?
Someone is driving.
Danny is driving.
Danny, where are you? Wow,
Driving, but I'm watching.
Be careful, be careful.
Oh my God. Okay. I will take the first page first. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Okay, the second one. 1, 2, 3. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you again for everybody. Hopefully, this webinar can be give you some insight, some knowledge other than only architecture. I think we also need to explore more in terms of the technology and, of course, the sustainability. So, just a bit information for the next. I'm sorry, I need to share the screen. Yeah. Okay, for next week, yeah, we will have our fifth speaker from Japan. It's Subasa Nakanishi-san. Okay, so he will talk about architecture and urban design in Japan. So, of course, as I usually say that the capacity is very limited, make sure that you already registered yourself. And we will have this kind of webinar every Saturday as a part of the series with various different topics, which is still engaged to the sustainability movement in young architect perspectives. So this event is again supported by Arcasia Committee of Young Architect, Indonesia Institute of Architect Yogyakarta Chapter, and Yogyakarta Young Architect Forum, and powered by Extalia Hobbies. So I'm Primavera Desta. Thank you and see you next week. Bye-bye.